You are your own worst critic. You're too hard on yourself. Have you heard these words? When do you most often hear those words? I find that I most often hear those words when I try and do something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, and maybe I'm not all the way happy with how it went, so people will often tell me those words in an effort to make me feel better about myself. But what if you're actually right? The book that I want to talk about today is the first book that I read in 2021. It's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This book was gifted to me by Jared, my brother-in-law, who read this book and truly felt like this book changed his life. So when we first get into the book, David's telling the story of his childhood and the upbringing that he's had in terms of coming from a broken home and what that mentally did to him. And there was so much of this book that we could relate to. In a sense, it's that story of the underdog, the story of the person who comes through childhood trauma and then starts to conquer goals one at a time. And you're like, yes, I relate to this book. I get it. Like, yeah, if he could do it, I could do it too. And then it starts to take a turn into this like, the for. So back to this concept of you're your own worst critic. The glaring concept that I took away from this book is about this notion of you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. But what if you need to? The danger of not being too hard on yourself sometimes means that you're not growing. You're constantly giving yourself excuses as to why you can be in this mode of mediocrity, why you don't have to achieve your goals. You see, our brain is hardwired to make us safe. I once read this book called The 5-Second Rule, and it talks about how our brain's mode of operation is survival. So therefore, it's always going to keep you in a safe lane, and it is extremely risk averse. So you actually have to do a mental override of that in order to actually move outside your comfort zone, because once you move outside your comfort zone, you hear it all the time, that's when you're actually able to grow. And what this book really encouraged me to do is take a long look at myself in the mirror and be extremely unkind and honest with myself, but then actually follow it up with, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to achieve my goals? What are the habits that I'm going to put into my daily routine? And how am I going to get beyond my basic excuses? So even though I don't necessarily aspire to Mr. Goggins' crazy level of mental toughness, even though I don't aspire to David Goggins' crazy level of mental toughness and grit, that's what I was trying to say, toughness, grit, okay. There is so much that I can take from this book, and you'll understand it when you read it, that it is the kick in the ass that you need to get your 2021 started correctly. Not only that, but it will give you tools and challenges to do for yourself in order to figure out what your path to greatness is, what your path to moving beyond your excuses are, your tired, boring, basic ass excuses. So write in the comments below, what are those basic excuses that you have for yourself that you need to get over in 2021? And are you ready to get kicked in the ass for it?